Alright, people. Review of the week time. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily going to be a long one. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a long one because it's mainly going to be reviewing the fights that happened over the weekend. And I haven't seen the Williams Zepeda fight in its entirety yet, so I'm not really going to comment on that one. But it's mainly going to be going over the Top Rank show for the start, and then obviously the Matchroom show, and then some bit of news that's chucked in between. Because there's not been, I was looking through, even before starting this video, I was going through just boxing scene, just seeing if there was anything that kind of I could even do a separate video on. And I was looking through and I was like, there's not much coming out about really anybody. There's not a lot going on. And July, towards the back end of the month, is really good. Because we've got Magnificent Seven. We have the, well, I mean, if you want to call it good, you can. The show is good, but the main event is horrible, which is obviously Joe Joyce, Derek Chisora. It's not a horrible fight. It's a good fight. But I just don't want to see Chisora taking a shellacking again. And then obviously we have that mega show in LA, which is the Saudi show, which is headlined by Terence Crawford, which is a great card. And that's an all-nighter if ever I've seen one. So we've got a good few things coming up towards the end of the month. But right now, it's kind of a bit, there's not a great deal going on. Let's start with the Top Rank show, because I want to talk a bit more about, because I seen more of the Matchroom show. I pretty much watched from about 7 last night up until the main event, pretty much the show in its entirety. So I can touch on that a bit more. Let's talk about O'Shaq Foster versus Robson Conceição. Now. See what I did there? In all honesty, I mean, it's not really a laughing matter, because this fight right here, I don't know how Shaki Foster didn't, this fight was damn near a shutout. It's like, when you see a fight where, people will often say, oh, robbery. And as you'll know on here, I don't normally label a fight as a robbery. Because fans nowadays, if a fight is genuinely close, if it's genuinely a fight where you do look and say, okay, well, I favour what this guy is doing, and it's probably a 5-7 fight to fighter B, fighter A gets it on a razor close decision, and you could maybe split, and you could say, well, some of the swing rounds, possibly, depends what you like. So yeah, a legit close fight could have went either way. I won't call that a robbery. A lot of fans will call it robbery. No, I don't like, because you kind of ruin the word for when an actual robbery happens. Boom. Case in point right here. This right here, honestly, I don't know how, because I wasn't planning on rewatching the fight, because I wasn't planning on really, sitting down and putting myself, and I did put myself through a few rounds of Shakur Stevenson's fights for my sins. But this fight right here, I was watching, I was like, he's lighting Conceição up in there. There was rounds there, in round 8, where I'm like, he is literally, if only he had a bit more punching power. O'Shaq Foster, he only has 12 knockout wins and 22 wins. Yeah. And I was thinking, okay, only he's a bit more knockout power, you could really be doing damage in here. And then they read it was a split decision. And I think ESPN said they had it 11-1. I mean, I don't know how. I really don't know how. Even a fight that maybe was a clear 8-4 or clear 9-3, that was maybe a little bit closer but still went to the right guy, but a fight in which people are saying this was either a shutout or it was a 11-1, you're like, how do you get a split decision? And how one of the judges scored at 116-112 to Conceição. Now I don't know how, honestly, it was just Conceição, he's been unlucky, and he's been on the receiving end of a bad decision, which was against, I think it was Oscar Valdez, was it not? It was. I remember that, because I think Valdez failed a test going into that fight, actually the week of the fight, and he was still allowed to compete. It's amazing. But he didn't win this fight. You see, a fight like that, where someone like O'Shaq Foster loses in a fight in which you should see his reaction, and even hear him in the post-fight interview, he was distraught, can't blame him. When something like that happens, even though you've not necessarily taken, because he didn't get hit much in that fight, it can take something out of the fighter. To go through all that, box your heart out, do everything right, easy, coast it, and then three people with two people at ringside take it away from you? What? And even the guy who had O'Shaquie Foster win it, he didn't have it, like, he had it 8-4. But, like, if they'd all given it to him 8-4, I would have said to be a bit generous there. To Conseil Sale, making it as though it was only an 8-4 fight. This was a wide win. I don't know how he didn't get it. Honestly, like, that's madness. It really is. Then you had Shakur Stevenson fighting Artem. I'm going to try and see if I can pronounce this guy's name. No, I'm not. I'm not even going to try. I watched a couple of rounds of that. It was not compelling. I knew after his last fight that there was left a lot of bad taste in people's mouths. People were not best pleased because Shakur Stevenson, low punch output. It was like a sparring session. People were just not happy with that. And I kind of thought to myself, okay, and especially in this fight, because a lot was made of the fact that after this fight, Shakur Stevenson will be a free agent. So it means then that he won't be with Top Rank, or it's unlikely he might sign with Top Rank. You never know. He won't be. But going into the fight, I was thinking this. If he resigns with Top Rank, okay. But if he's looking to kind of, sell himself to other promoters, he's going to want to go in there. He's going to want to do a good performance. You're going to want to make it more exciting than your last fight. You're going to want to try, because, you can try, maybe you just don't hit hard, and maybe the guy is really, really tough. You want to try and at least get rid of him, or put him, make it a good fight. Make it a really good fight. And Shakur Stevenson didn't do that. I mean, it was brutal by the guys in ESPN. From the 11th round going into round number 12, they were showing the fans already walking out. I mean, that's got to be, that's... And I love the way, like, they actually made it, like, round 11 to round 12. There's the fans walking out. You're like, that's not something you really want to be showing. But there you go. It was a good performance. I mean, Shakur Stevenson, you can see the talent in him. I mean, he is a very, very talented fighter. I mean, there's no one questioning that. But I can't see him getting a really, really... Like, I can't see him getting the deal he wants. Because before I talk about the Johnny Fisher fight, I'll talk about the deal Shakur Stevenson is reported that he's turned down. Apparently it was a 5-fight deal. So a 5-fight deal with Top Rank, which I'm more in favour of fighters doing something like that as opposed to, say, like a 5-year deal. Because a 5-fight deal, you could have 3 fights this year, 2 the next, and it's done. You've only really been with the promoter for, a year and a half of your career, where a 5-year deal, that's 5 years. There's no way of getting out of that, really. And you go down legal roads, there's buyouts, there's a lot of crap that comes along with a long-term deal. That's why I don't like fighters signing them. If it's a 3, 5, or even a fight-by-fight deal, that's a lot better. It's a lot better because if you feel like, all right, he's not working in my best interest, I'm not happy here, how many fights do I have left? 1 fight, okay, 1 and done, see it, let's move on. If you're in a year, like, when I say year, I mean like a 3-year, 5-year, 4-year deal, you're stuck. And you don't want that. So I'm all for fighters taking the fight-by-fight deal or the 5-fight deal, stuff like that. It was revealed he turned down a $15 million deal to re-sign with Top Rank, guaranteed $3 million per fight, so that he could become a free agent. I hope it works for him. But, like, I think that's a very good deal. I really do, all things considered, because as talented as Shakur Stevenson is, and he is very, very talented, he's a great fighter, I can't imagine, like, 3 mil. I would say that, I can't even imagine if any of his shows are going to come even close to recouping any of that. And especially given the fact that he's getting a reputation now as being a guy who fans leave early, they boo, they chant boring, his fights are not entertaining. That's going to be a nightmare for a promoter. I'm telling you now, even someone like an Eddie Hearn, Oscar De La Hoya, they're going to have a nightmare with that, because if they start if Eddie Hearn signs him to a big deal, a big multi-fight deal where he's making more money than that, a couple of mil a fight, and it's more of the same. Eddie Hearn kind of learned his lesson, I want to say, with Lawrence Okolie, where Lawrence Okolie was not making him that much money. Some of his fights were stinkers, and Eddie Hearn just basically said, look, I'm not letting you go or anything like that. Let's work together, let's keep this going, but I'm essentially going to be paying you what you're worth. And Okolie was like, F that. And we saw what happened there. I don't know if you're going to get better than that for Shakur Stevenson. I really don't. So yeah, I'll talk about him more in a wee bit, but that was his card there. Let's talk about the Matchroom card. So I seen Maisie Rose Courtney. That's probably the first time I've ever seen her fight. I was not impressed at all by her. She fought a Polish lady by the name of Jasmine. Yeah, I'm not going to even try. She actually looked quite good. She was pretty accurate, landed some good right hands. The scorecards, yeah, I think the 90, there was one that was like 96, 94, a bit close. Yeah, she was the rightful winner, 100%. I've heard of Maisie Rose Courtney. I've heard of her a few times, but I hadn't seen her. And yeah, I've no interest in seeing her again. I mean, she looks horrific, absolutely horrific in there. Johnny Hedges, that was a nasty, nasty clash of heads that stopped his fight. So he obviously won the fight, won it pretty comfortably. Now the Southern Area champion, won the Southern Area title, let's say, a cruiserweight, Lewis Oakfield. Now Oakfield seemed like a tough guy, seemed to be quite durable, although saying that, I don't think Hedges... See, I've seen a lot of Johnny Hedges' fight, and I can question his punching power, definitely. He turned pro at 168 pounds, believe it or not. And that was only 3 or so years ago, so now he's a cruiserweight. And you can see he is carrying a little bit of timber there, but it's nothing major. It's nothing to really worry about that much. But yeah, punching power is not really there. It was a clash of heads. I think it was round 5, wasn't it? Yeah, no, sorry, round 6. And it was accidental completely. Both guys went in, the heads just went whack. And it was a really... As soon as I seen the cut, I was like, oh yeah, they're stopping that fight. No way. And rightly so. There's no way he could carry on. I mean, the thing was just gushing blood. So I stopped it, went to a technical decision. I seen Reese Bellotti versus Levi Gills. Reese Bellotti in control, apart from the last round. He got hurt in the last round, and some big inexperience here from Levi Gills. What he did in the last round was he was actually able to hurt Reese Bellotti. And Reese Bellotti is 33 years old. He's been around. I remember him in the Next Gen days, the early Next Gen days, years ago. I've seen a good few of his fights, Reese Bellotti. He actually had a record. I think he got to like 12-0 with like 11 knockouts. And who was it? Was it Ryan Walsh or someone like that in the York Hall in 2018 who stopped him? And then he just seemed to kind of fall off the face of the earth and was only kind of brought in to lose. But he's having an Indian summer in his career. He was hurt. He was able to survive. And what Levi Gills did was he ended up pushing Reese Bellotti to the ground with a few seconds to go. Any chance he had to step on the gas and try and even get a knockdown at the very least was gone at that point. And Bellotti survived, took the decision. Rightly so, it was unanimous. And then we get to the main event. Alan Babic versus... Yeah, I'm already giggling. Johnny Fisher. You know, I said it in my post-fight review. I'll reiterate it here. I expected Johnny Fisher to win. I expected a more entertaining fight. How entertaining can you get in a 36-second fight? You know? Although anyone who watched Mike Tyson will tell you can get a lot of entertainment in that time. No, I did kind of think there would be a bit more of a car crash TV element to this fight, that we'd see a bit more, you know, bombs from both guys, but we didn't. And I guess in hindsight, you should say, well, you know, that you should have really seen that coming, because Alan Babic is a fighter who has looked jaded for a while now. He's got very questionable punch resistance. He can't seem to counter punch. He can't seem to move his head. He just does a really good heavy bag impression, and then all of a sudden lets his hands go with these big crude clubbing shots. And again, never moves his head and just asking to be countered. And Johnny Fisher just came in, realised, oh my God, all my Christmases have come at once. This guy does not move his head. He just does not move. Oh, I'm going to have a field day with him. And that's what he did. Knocked him out and around. Listen, my perception of Johnny Fisher remains exactly the same. I think that he's got a little bit of talent there, but not enough that's going to take him anywhere in the sport. You know, I think he's too raw. He's too crude. There's too many red flags when I look at Johnny Fisher, and I just say, like, in that, with that style, the way he carries himself, everything in the ring, I mean, it's like, you're gonna have trouble. You're gonna have big trouble when you step up. big trouble. And when I say step up, I'm not talking about him going, to British and world level. I'm talking maybe even English level. Seriously, you're going to have trouble. There are journeymen that if you've any chinks in your armour, that, you would not want to be going in with those journeymen. Like guys like Kamil Sakalasky, who now is banned, I think, either that or retired, one or the other. Someone like him, I've been looking at him against Fisher. Now, obviously, a younger, fresher Kamil Sakalasky, I'd be saying, that's a risky fight. That's a real risky fight for someone like Johnny Fisher. And you look at his contemporaries, you look at Solomon Dakis, I really, really don't rate. And maybe I'd give Johnny Fisher a chance against him because I really don't rate him. I think he's really not good. I've never been impressed with him. When he was with Matchroom, I was never impressed with him. I seen his debut with Queensbury, and you could argue he lost that fight. But he's in there with David Adelaide, who, he got beaten by Fabio Wadley pretty badly. But Adelaide, I think he'd stop Johnny Fisher. And you look at guys like Moses Atelma. Moses Atelma is miles ahead in terms of Johnny Fisher. Because some people would say, well, who's Atelma fought? A lot more durable guys than the likes Johnny Fisher's been fighting. Believe you me, he's going in to fight Mariusz Vac. Konstantin Dobyshenko was a lot more durable. I mean, Konstantin Dobyshenko's never been stopped. He's been in there with the likes of Hughie Fury. He's been in there with the likes of Moses Atelma, who beat him handily. Stopped Matty Harris. I think that was in 5. Actually, he was down in that fight against Matty Harris, and then he ended up coming from behind to stop him. Someone like that is... Someone like Konstantin Dobyshenko, I'm telling you now, there's a very good chance he'd probably beat Alan Babic. Seriously, there's a very good chance someone like Konstantin Dobyshenko would beat Alan Babic, because Babic, again, doesn't move his head. Dobyshenko has a good defense because obviously he might be a journeyman, but a lot of those journeymen, they're hard to tag clean. Hence the reason why the guy's never been stopped in however many losses. And if he could wear Alan Babic down, man, he'd drown. If it was like I say, an 8 or a 10 rounder, Babic would be screwed. So Johnny Fisher, listen, I get the impression with Johnny Fisher, if you listen to him in interviews, he seems a very grounded young man. That's one thing I will say. That's a compliment, by the way. He seems a very grounded young man. He obviously knows that himself that he's not the finished article. And he knows himself that there's a lot to still learn. So I think he's the one, because Eddie Hearn was saying he's this, he's that, he's blah, 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 all these superlatives. But Johnny Fisher wasn't really kind of going along with that. Johnny Fisher was very much more grounded if you hear him talk. And I think he knows himself that, look, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Yeah, I was in there with the perfect opponent to make me look good, but a lot of work still has to happen. And it does, quite frankly. I'm glad, judging by how he sounds, that he's not letting his head get a little bit too gassed about this fight. And, he seems to be, okay, full steam ahead. This is done, move on. Because he needs to. There's a lot of improvements that need to be done there. Mark Tibbs is a very good trainer, so he's in very, very capable hands there at Mark Tibbs. But yeah, even with, say, a year of the best of the best training, preparation, picking the right fights, I still don't see much of a ceiling for Johnny Fisher. As for Alan Babic, I mean, I'd say stick a fork in him. Seriously, I'd say stick a fork in him. I mean, it's not back-to-back losses in the first round. He obviously got that win over Steve Robinson. But even then, he beat Steve Robinson. And I mean, he hit Steve Robinson with everything. It's not like Steve Robinson is difficult to hit. He hit him with everything. I think Robinson's been down in fights as well. He hit him with everything. He looks jaded in there. His punch resistance is completely gone by the looks of things. And he's undersized for heavyweight. If he went to cruiserweight, it would probably be even harder, because at least with some of these heavyweights, they're a little bit slower. At cruiserweight, they hit just as hard, some of them, and they're way, way faster and more talented for the most part. So I don't see what Babic does. And after this type of performance, would a promoter, if you're Frank Warren, because I was looking at that thinking, God, I'm sure Frank Warren is kind of regretting not getting like the York Hall free and doing Babic versus Atelma at the York Hall, because Atelma would have got rid... I'm telling you now, Atelma would have got rid of him probably the first meaningful shot he lands. He probably would have took Alan Babic out with that. So I'm sure he's probably looking and thinking, damn, I could have done that. I don't know. Babic, I would just say stick a fork in him. Seriously, I would just say stick a fork in him I'd say he's done. As for Johnny Fisher, who does he fight next? That's a good question. I'm hearing a lot of people say Dave Allen. And listen, I've made my opinion clear on Dave Allen in the past. I think that Dave Allen is a serial F up. And what I mean by that is that Dave Allen is someone who many years ago, Eddie Hearn noticed that he had a bit of a cult following, which he did. Dave Allen, when he was younger, he had a little bit of ability there. I'm not going to say he was a terrible fighter. He wasn't. He had a little bit of ability there. And what he needed was the right training set up and discipline. And he chose not to get the right training set up. And Eddie Hearn to give him all these opportunities and him turn up out of shape. So, it's his own fault that he's having to take away money. And one of the reasons why I don't want to see Dave Allen stick around, and why I don't want to see him take fights with the likes of Johnny Fisher and Moses Atauma, even though I think Atauma versus Dave Allen would probably be actually, matchmaking wise, might not be too bad. Dave Allen has taken some horrific beatings in there over the years. And you put him in there, I know against Fraser Clark, he didn't really take a beating per se, because Fraser didn't really do much. But if you put him in there against someone like Atauma, who's very, very accurate and hits very hard, someone like Fisher, who throws a lot of shots, very fast-handed, a very big puncher, he is going to be taking shots left, right, and centre. And that is not going to be good, because he has taken some serious beatings already as Dave Allen. So there is that. What else do we have? Let's have a look-see at the boxing news. I was going to talk about Shakur Stevenson. We have spent more time on those reviews than we have anything else. Lomachenko has said that he will step aside and let Gervonta Davis fight Shakur Stevenson, and he'll fight the winner in early 2025. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Tank Davis versus Loma, but equally I'd love to see Shakur versus Tank. I really, truly would. I would love to see that. I'd absolutely love to see that fight. I seen during the weekend Shane Mosley Jr. beat Danny Jacobs on a unanimous decision. Haven't seen it, but that's what I'm seeing here. And you know what? I feel so bad for Danny Jacobs, because Shane Mosley Jr., did he ever fight? I think he did fight at middleweight before, and he was never that good. If you had taken Danny Jacobs of 2017, 2016, 2018, he'd have knocked out Shane Mosley in a couple of rounds. Shane Mosley Jr. is. He'd have knocked him out in a couple of rounds. I've never seen anything quite like it, because Danny Jacobs against Triple G, I thought he won that fight. He didn't take a beating. Against Canelo, he actually clawed some rounds back. Didn't take a beating. But he just seemed to just go, fade like that overnight. And you're kind of like, well, hang on a minute. Danny Jacobs has never taken a lot of shots. I know he's been around a long time, but he's never been one for you'd look at and think, oh God, that's one beating too many or anything like that. You're like, where did all this, where did the peak go? Because it just seemed to just go, evaporate. Really weird. Really, really weird. Speaking of Triple G, he's refused to rule out a return to boxing. Would I be interested in an interesting offer? Yeah, I would say never say never. I feel great. I'm in the peak of form, and I would say if something comes up, I will look into that. I'd like Triple G to announce retirement. He's in his 40s now. I think he's 42. He went out losing the trilogy fight to Canelo. And I think I love Triple G and Gennady Golovkin. Love them. Absolutely one of my favourite fighters. Love them. And I think that just don't come back. Just, you went out on your own terms. Just leave it at that. Leave it at that. Leave it at that. Canelo Alvarez's final two... what was I going to say there? Canelo Alvarez's final two candidates for his next fight are reportedly Chris Eubank Jr. and Edgar Berlanga. I was looking at a picture below and I was kind of like, what's that? And then I was like, what am I saying? Yeah, his final two candidates are reportedly Chris Eubank Jr., Edgar Berlanga. Not exactly great picks, are they? I would say that I'd rather Eubank and Berlanga be the choices than Berlanga and Charlo. Charlo shouldn't be anywhere near in the running. Berlanga will be a mandatory. So's Benavidez. Don't see you mentioning him though. I'm just saying. I'd like to see Canelo Benavidez. We all would, but we're going to get that. Berlanga, Canelo would light him up. He would light him up. Having said that, I suspect he'll probably light Chris Eubank Jr. up too. And I'm telling you now, if he thought Liam Smith hit hard, that's nothing compared to what Canelo will bring to the table. And Chris Eubank Jr. in the first Liam Smith fight, poor technique, made mistakes, got countered. Canelo Alvarez is just, his counter punching and combination punching is on another level. It's on another level to Liam Smith. I think Eubank Jr. would take a beating and a half. But I think that if he could have his moments in there where Canelo was looking the rest, those combinations might look quite flashy. They might look quite flashy. Now, I think I might end it on this because... No, I won't end it on this just yet. Lawrence Okolie will apparently defend his world title, his Bridgerweight world title, whoop-de-doo, against Kevin Lorena. Fight was over by WBC, and Sullivan, in his infinite wisdom, has now confirmed that. I've heard rumours that might potentially be on a Queensbury show, and that Okolie could potentially be going to work with Frank Warren and Queensbury. Let's wait and see. So what I was getting into there, before we'll finish it up on this one, Ryan Garcia has announced that he is now going to be entering rehab. I hear it's to do with alcohol. Now, I seen a comment on Midweek Report and someone was saying, I can't wait to hear G-Man's thoughts on Ryan. And I didn't know at the time when I recorded it what Ryan did. I was looking at that and I was kind of like, huh? Thoughts on Ryan? I was like, what about Ryan Garcia? I hadn't actually seen what Ryan did. And then I seen it and I was like, oh, good God. Yeah, what do you say about that? Listen, there's no excuse. And Ryan Garcia can say what he wants, I wasn't in a good place, this, that, and the other. There really is no excuse. And if they were written under the influence of alcohol, they do say they do say your true self comes out under the influence of alcohol. You do hear that. You do hear people say that. The true feelings are then revealed. I read a few of them and I just was just like, what the hell? And Ryan Garcia, I mean, I don't even know what to say. He is a monumental screw up. That's what I got to say on him. He is a monumental screw up, is Ryan Garcia. And it's frustrating a talented fighter effing things up so bad, repeatedly, time after time after time after time. He really is trying to be this generation's Adrian Broner, isn't he? In terms of being just an out and out screw up. At least Broner won a couple of world titles. He actually won 4 world titles in 4 to 8 divisions. Ryan Garcia hasn't won one. And he's coming out with crap like that, tweeting it all over the place. They're saved. Like, you can't just... Someone of his stature and his following, he says something as ridiculous as that and those things and horrific as those things he was saying. They're saved. They're going to stick with you forever. You can't just delete them and just pretend they never happened. They're with you forever. So that's gonna be hanging over his head for a long time to come. I don't know. And I actually seen him and Teofimo Lopez. They were at the Jorge Masvidal Nate Diaz fight. I think Teofimo Lopez tweeted something really, really stupid as well. With regards to 2 of them. I think it was something like, divorce kings or something like that. And you're just like, what the hell? Like, seriously, mate, grow up. Yeah, this is what we're dealing with. Ryan Garcia, I don't know. He won't be back until next April, and that's when he's allowed to fight. Whether he actually gets a fight scheduled for next April or not remains to be seen. Could be later than that, but that's the situation with Ryan Garcia. Listen, yeah, monumental screw up. That's what I got to say on that. I will leave it there. This has probably gone on longer than I thought because I spent so much time reviewing the fights. But I will leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. For now, lads and lassies, I'll leave it there. Hope you all have a great week. I hope the phone rings or someone gets an email, whatever, with some good news, myself included. Things have been going pretty damn good lately. I'm not going to talk much about certain things, but there's been a few good things that have been happening lately. You might even actually see one in a video upcoming in the next day or two. So stay tuned for that. But I'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe if you haven't already. Peace.